This video is going to talk about multiple representations of functions. So the first problem that we're going to look at is the purple one. And we have a word problem here. A pig's average heart rate is 60 beats per minute. They want us to write an equation to find the total number of heartbeats, B, in m minutes. So we want to know what is B for every m that you have, for how many beats happen in every minute. And if we look at our word problem, it says there are 60 beats per minute. So that means for every minute, there are 60 beats. We would multiply the number 60 times the number of minutes to figure out how many beats there are. That is showing our function as an equation. Now, let's look at how to show it as a table. To show our function as a table, we need to use this equation to fill out our table. So when m is 1, we need to figure out what is b. So imagine that instead of this m, there is a 1. What's 60 times 1? Well, it's 60. What about 60 times 2? Well, 60 times 2 is going to be 120. What about 60 times 3? That's going to be 180. 60 times 4, 240. And now we have shown our function as a table. Let's go ahead and let's graph this function. Now, we have a graph here. We have the minutes, m, down below, and we have the beats, b, up above. So let's take a look at that. In 1 minute, there was 60 beats. So I'm going to go to the 1 and I'm going to go up to 60. Except I didn't make 60 on the graph because there's going to be a lot of numbers, so I put it up by 50s each time. And technically, if you look here, it goes up by 25s. But I didn't write in every single number. So I need to find 60, which is going to be right here. So there's my first dot. My next was 2 120. So I'm going to go to 2 and jump up to 120, which will be roughly here. Next is 3 180. So I'm going to go from 3 up to 180. And my last one was 4 240. I'm going to go right about there. And you see that I have a line, roughly, because it's on a whiteboard. You will have graph paper. It will be so much easier. But you can see now that we have shown this equation using this function using an equation, a table, and a graph. These all mean the same thing. It's just showing them in different ways. One of them shows you how to put any number and how to figure out any number for this. So if you want to know how many beats are in 375 minutes, you can absolutely plug that in. The table shows you beats for a specific number of minutes, and the graph helps you to see how fast it increases and kind of to get more of a visual representation of it. Let's go ahead and look at one more. Let's look at the pink problem. There are 20 nickels in $1. Write an equation to find the total number of nickels, n, in D dollars. So to figure this out, you want to know how many nickels are in $1. So that would be n equals, because you're trying to figure out how many nickels per dollar. And you know that for every dollar, you're going to multiply by 20, because there are 20 nickels in $1. So that's going to be 20, and you can tell I'm writing my letters very carefully to make sure that they're not confused with numbers. 20D equals n. Let's go ahead and scoot over here. Now we get to fill this out. $1 equals how many nickels? Well, the problem already told us that. There's 20. But what happens when there's $2? Now we're going to take out D, and we're going to put 2. 20 times 2 is 40. 3 times 20 is 60. And just looking at the pattern that we have here, 20, 40, 60, we get to 80. Let's go ahead and look at this over here. Lower that just a little bit more because we like to be down on an angle. So when we graph this, we know that dollars, D, and N, nickels. So let's go ahead and graph 120. 120 would be roughly here, 240, 360, 480. And you can see here that we get a rough line, and we can even start to predict what will happen when we're at 50. When we have $5, we will end up having 100 nickels. What I would like you to do for homework is to tell me which one of these works best for you. Which one of these is the best representation for you? The equation, the table, or the graph?